My name is Nicole Vagel, and I work out of the Office of Human Resources to support employee well-being on our campus. So I would just like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you today for joining. In replacement of the Wellness Symposium, we decided to organize 31 days of community well-being. And so that has been a virtual event and virtual offerings that we have had. We hope that you've been able to take advantage of some of our pre-recorded talks and resources and some reflections and small actions that have been offered on the interactive calendar. And I would like to just extend a big thank you to our OHR conferences team for making this month happen, our partners in the Department of Family Medicine and Community Health, as well as our EID partners in OHR for helping curate the content for this month and this week. So today kicks off our live sessions. So we have live sessions throughout the week at 9 and noon. And we are pleased to welcome Mary to lead us in a mindfulness session this morning. Mary, I will hand it over to you to introduce yourself. And then just as a note to participants, you probably saw the notification that the session is being recorded. We'll record the session so that others who were unable to join us at this time can view it later. But Mary, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Nicole. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the session on mindfulness meditation. My name is Mary Paulauskis. Excuse me. I work for the School of Social Work as an advisor, and I also teach mindfulness meditation. UW employees, UW Health employees. So I'm glad that you attended this session either to just continue your practice that's already a practice for you, or to learn more about mindfulness meditation. So the idea behind mindfulness meditation is that we use the breath to anchor ourselves into the present moment. You may have heard that, be in the moment, be here now, and that's what we're doing. And what we're going to do is use the body in order to anchor us in this moment right now. So what we notice as we begin to practice is that we are often in our minds. We are often following our minds. And in doing so, we're not really present for what's happening right now, right here, through our experiences. So we find that we fall into habits of mind. We're just moving through the world in habits, and we're not really experiencing. We're swept up in our thoughts, and our thoughts can lead to thinking of the future, in which we may become anxious, planning, worrying, or our thoughts can be in the past, and then we're ruminating over something that happened. And maybe many of you have had the experience of getting in the car and driving somewhere, arriving, and never really having been aware of the trip from point A to point B. We're swept up in our thoughts. Maybe we had an argument before we got in the car, and we go over and over, and we're not here right now. And the reason we want to be here right now is this is the place where we can decide our actions rather than simply react to our thought. So our thoughts are going on, and we're driving our car. Maybe our child is in the back seat. We're not listening. We're not seeing that the sun is shining. We don't know what we're feeling inside. So the invitation of mindfulness is to start recapturing what is happening right here, right now. And as I said, we use our bodies to do this. We anchor into our bodies. Our bodies are always in the present moment, where our thoughts can be in the future, can be in the past. So the idea we're trying to get across is that our thoughts are not us. Our mind generates thoughts that reflect our emotions, our habits, and sometimes we feel like we're even held captive to that, so that we run from being anxious and depressed and happy and sad, and we don't really know what we're experiencing. So one of the practices we're going to do is called a breath awareness meditation. Now, if you're going to practice this on your own, I would suggest starting with 5 or 10 minutes daily practice. We're going to do a slightly longer practice today, just to get you familiar with how it works. But if you're going to practice on your own, start smaller. The important part is to do it more consistently. Rather than meditating for 45 minutes one day and then not doing it again for a week, it's more important to practice shorter but more consistent times. So while we're doing the meditation, I'm going to turn off my video just to ensure that you can hear me clearly throughout the practice. But so the invitation will be to keep your eyes open or shut. And the only reason we do that is that we don't want, excuse me, we don't want to be distracted. So if we close our eyes, it's sometimes easier to feel what's happening inside. So I'm going to start us, and I'm going to lead us through a guided meditation, and I will let you know when the meditation's over. And then I'd like to just finish up with some thoughts about further practice. So finding yourself in a comfortable position. This can be sitting up, or if you're more comfortable, lying down is fine. What we'd like to do is have the spine be straight, not stiff, just tall. Think of sitting in a dignified position or lying down in a way in which your spine is as long as it can be. Sometimes if you're sitting up, placing a small rolled towel or blanket behind your lower back helps. Just keeping that spine straight and tall. And as we begin, starting to become aware of the body seated or lying down in this position. Perhaps concentrating on the points of contact the body is making. The feet on the floor. Maybe your bum on the chair. Maybe your back along the back of the chair. Just becoming aware of the body, the entire body in this position, and maybe moving up to points where sometimes we hold a little tension. The shoulders, and allowing the shoulders to perhaps relax a bit. Moving up through the neck, the jaw, the face. Putting your attention right on the eyes and the forehead, that area where sometimes we hold some tension. And then moving our attention to that place in the body where we feel the breath most prominently. Now, sometimes that's the belly. We feel the body moving away from the spine and back toward the spine. We might feel the breath most prominently in the chest area. And we're not thinking about breathing. we're actually experiencing the sensations that occur with the breath. So maybe a sensation of filling, emptying, rising, falling. Sometimes people feel the breath most prominently in the nostrils, perhaps a sense of cooler air coming in on the in-breath, warmer air coming out on the out-breath. And once you've decided a place, hold your attention there. Feeling the sensations, trying as best you can not to manipulate breathing, but experiencing a sense of watching the body breathe itself. Holding attention here. And then as time goes on, we may notice that our attention has moved away from breath into thinking. We've forgotten that we're sitting here and we are caught up in our plans for the rest of the day, for our worry or concern, even our excitement over something. And when you notice this happening, that is a moment of mindfulness. That awareness is what we're looking for as we practice mindfulness, becoming aware that our thoughts are taking us away from the experience of being in our bodies. And then we gently and compassionately invite our attention to come back to the breath. Very important in this practice not to yank the attention away or scold ourselves for allowing our attention to move to thought. Rather, to very gently and compassionately, without judgment, really normalizing the fact that thoughts happen. We're not going to stop our thoughts, but we are going to practice mindfulness by returning our attention where we are asking it to be, on our breath. And then again, as we notice our attention has moved. We gently invite attention back, building this sense of getting to know ourselves, building a connection with what we are experiencing. Not trying to change anything, just accepting what is. And again, we notice our thoughts. And as if those thoughts are just like clouds against the blue sky, we allow the thought to just move along. And as we sit here for a bit, perhaps we start having bodily sensations that draw our attention away from our breath. Perhaps a sensation in a hip, a knee. And rather than shifting, squirming, you might invite attention, just like a flashlight shining, to move away from the breath and shine on that sensation, that hip, that knee, and be curious. What's happening? If your mind goes to pain, as best you can, try to be curious about the actual sensation. When we call something pain, our temptation is to push it away. But the invitation is to be with that sensation, to explore it, maybe to name it. Is it throbbing, stabbing, tightness, tension? And then, in this way, we may experience the fact that everything changes. That sensation may dull, may change. And of course, if it becomes too painful, that word that we try not to use, then a mindful movement, seeing if even with the tiniest movement of the body, could that sensation be alleviated? So the difference here is not reacting, but responding. And then we return attention back to the breath. This is the place that becomes a place of trusting and care for ourselves. As we continue to practice, we may notice some emotion. Maybe we notice something like boredom, frustration. What's the point? Why am I doing this? And again, to be curious about this. With each experience of emotion, there's a place in the body that we feel this. So remaining curious and patient with yourselves. Explore where the sensation of boredom, what does boredom feel like in the body? Why do I need to run away from it? This practice over time helps us really get to know ourselves. And then to become aware of bodily sensations that inform us of what we're feeling. It helps us relax into feelings rather than pushing them away. To be okay with boredom. To accept frustration as just something that happens. Returning our attention, once we've explored anything, always back to breath. Beginning to know ourselves. As we begin to trust ourselves, we begin to choose a response rather than an habitual reaction that we have. As soon as we're bored or frustrated, we must move on. In this way, we don't feel like we're run around by our emotions. We just acknowledge boredom, frustration, and we're actually normalizing the events of every day. And then always finding a place of home, safety, friendliness within ourselves. So it becomes very important in this practice to practice without judgment. And as we end this meditation together, you might start to bring awareness of your surrounding space back to you. Maybe making some movements. Stretching fingers, toes. And then bringing that very keen awareness that has been focused on your breath back to the space that you're sitting or lying in. Back to the room. And maintaining as best you can this sense of awareness of your body in this chair even as you begin to come back into the room. So trying to maintain a bit of that mindfulness. And then I ask you to consider some important things as you come out of this state. Noticing what you noticed. Did you notice certain patterns? Did you notice that when you paid attention to something, that it might have changed? Did you notice bodily sensations? Or perhaps emotions? So these meditations are available to us in this way, which is a formal meditation, but equally, meditation can happen throughout the day in moments of mindfulness. You might take a moment of mindfulness when you hear the ping on your phone of a text message, and before answering it, you might just focus on the breath. Just a quiet in and out, even one breath, to remind yourself that you're here right now and you're experiencing everything you can experience through all your sense doors. I thank you for practicing today and encourage you to practice this, even if it's 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, starting to build this relationship with self that can inform us in many ways, that can help us in our work, in our personal lives. So thank you very much for joining me today. Take good care.